TSN has just released their list of the top 50 upcoming NHL free agents as we get set for free agent frenzy. And here are the top 5. Mitch Marner topping the list, 100 points last season. 3 Florida Panthers in the top 5. And I want to start my chat with our NHL analyst, Marty Biron, by talking about the guy at number 3. That would be Brad Marchand. Marty, Brad Marchand having a terrific playoff again. It's almost unbelievable what this guy is doing for the Panthers. Our hockey insider, Chris Johnston, has mentioned that Marchand could see offers in the $8 million per year range at a length of 3 to 4 years on the deal. Now, Brad Marchand just turned 37 years old. What are your thoughts on a contract of that length and that much on the AAV?
Let's start with the term. I think that Brad Marchand still has 3 very good years in him. So if you want to stretch it to 4, maybe to bring the AAV down, I could see that happening. But $8 million, I think that's much. Like, he had 2 seasons of 67 points before getting 51 this year. Now, I get he had 3 surgeries last year at age 36 in the offseason, and he seems to have recovered really well from that, and he's got a perfect fit in Florida. So, look, if it is the Florida Panthers that they want to re-sign Brad Marchand, I can see him between $5 and $6 million on a 3 or 4 year deal. Maybe that's closer to $5 million a year on a 4-year deal because you're saying, hey, you know what, we'll give you an extra year, we'll lower the AAV. Here's the thing. If Brad Marchand gets to July 1, and we're talking about him on this station, on Free Agent Frenzy, there's going to be a dozen, maybe 15 teams that are going to line up and call Marchand. Why am I saying just a dozen to 15? Because who has the 7, 8, 9 millions to give? Like, there's a lot of teams that have cap problems. So I'm saying maybe that's going to bring the price up. But if it is Florida, I think it's going to be closer to 5, 5.5 over that 3 or 4 year term. But if there's somebody that steps up and now there's a bidding war, I think we could see it getting to 7, 7.5, maybe closer to 8.
Number 4 on that list was Nik Ehlers, the Winnipeg Jets. We heard Jets GM Kevin Cheveldayoff say on the show a couple of weeks ago, Marty, that he is very interested in bringing Ehlers back and making Ehlers a Jet for life. But since that time, we haven't heard much from either side, either the Jets or Ehlers. If you are Cheveldayoff, do you want to lock up Nik Ehlers to a long-term deal?
Well, I think if you're the Jets and Kevin Cheveldayoff, that's what you got to say. Nik Ehlers has been fantastic for the Jets, but when I look at the numbers, and the reality is that you have Gabe Vilardi, an RFA, you're going to have to give him a contract. You have Sandberg on defense, you got to give him a contract. You got Martin Biron, an RFA as well. So those 3 guys will probably eat about 10 to 12 million in the 20 or so million you have of cap space. And the number 1 priority in Winnipeg is a number 2 center, like a second-line center. That's probably going to cost you Nik Ehlers money. Like, I think Ehlers is going to be somewhere around the $8 million on a 6-year deal, 7-year deal, either in Winnipeg or somewhere else. But if you really want to make sure that the Jets have what it takes, which is a second-line center, unfortunately, you won't have the money for Nik Ehlers. You would have to make sure you trade other pieces to make that space for Nik Ehlers. And I do feel that the Jets have the pieces to come in and fill in the Nik Ehlers spot as a winger in the top 2 lines. So focus on the second-line center. That's the money that you probably would give to Nik Ehlers, but that is a much higher priority, the second-line center, that Nik Ehlers is for the Winnipeg Jets.
Marty, I want to talk about goaltending, and the first goaltender on our TSN Top 50 free agents list is Jake Allen at number 11. There are only 3 goalies total in the top 50. So if you're a GM, you're looking to shore up your goaltending situation, is it free agency you go to, or are there other avenues you think might be better to improve your goaltending situation?
It's got to be trade, right? You look at Jake Allen, he's not going to fix your goalie or your crease issues if you need a number 1. He may be a 1B. He may be coming in a tandem, but he's not the number 1 in the tandem. He's the support, right? Like in New Jersey, he did great behind Jacob Markstrom. And I do feel that there's a desire to keep Markstrom and Allen in New Jersey. So that would be even worse when it comes to the goalie market. You have Vladar, you have Alex Lyon, you have Vitek Vanacek as the backup in Florida. I think they are kind of backup or tandem options. You look at trades, though. You could go after Gibson in Anaheim. You could go after Merzlikins in Columbus. You got Detroit that has Mrazek and Talbot, you could go after, maybe do what the Leafs did. You know, look at a backup goaltender that's having a lot of success. Joel Ofer in St. Louis could be that guy. So there's better options in the trade market than there is in the free agent market. And it's one of those summers where if you're a piece, like if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and you have Stolarz and Joseph Woll, do you kind of call around to see what you would be able to get in return for either one of them? Because maybe the value is going to be great. Maybe you can make a move. I think the trade market is where it's at with the goaltenders this summer. You're not going to fix your crease by going the free agent route. I think it's definitely, you got to go and pay, you know, the value of a trade to make sure that that happens.
Boy, you know, we have been talking about John Gibson potentially being traded for what feels like several years now, Marty. So if it actually happens this summer, that would be quite something. We are just under 3 weeks until the opening of free agency on July the 1st. Marty, thanks for this.